I often tell people, like, if you say, even though we know the result now, that Cloud9 wasn't supposed to win the final against FaZe, that isn't even haterism on any level.
No, it's true.
If people don't know, it's almost like, the joke is I could almost like mathematically prove it, because the ridiculous thing is, you literally played them a whole bunch with the exact same lineups, and every time they used to just dust you guys off 2-0, because the worst thing is, they were almost like your playing style, but with like even better European players. Like, it was kind of like the worst possible matchup, wasn't it? So, and then also the other thing is this, dude, the maps for the final are basically all their favourite maps, because you have the same map pool as well. So, like, realistically, going into this final, like, how do you do this? Is it like the Optic one again, where you just, you tell yourself, well, since I'm the underdog, there's no pressure. How do you even battle something like that? Because to me, the fact that you played them so many times and they beat you, normally that leaves like a mental wound in a way, you know, that they can kind of open up again if they start winning. So, like, how do you win this final? Because to me, that all of that combined with like losing the first map so close, like, a lot of teams might just mentally pack up at that point and be like, well, you know, it's not supposed to be today. All this team's just better. You know, second place is good, all that jazz. What was going on inside Cloud9?
We definitely had game plans going to that, like, not like for the full game, but the first 4 or 5 rounds of each map. But I think, like, we're really, you said, like, there's no pressure, but I think there's actually way more pressure in this one, because even though we had been decimated by FaZe, every time I played FaZe before this was a decimation, like, not even close, 2-0, the last 5 times maybe. It was insane, like, how much they, like, just dominated us. It was like, no other team did that to us, so we just didn't know why. But obviously they did homework on them, but besides that, I think a lot what helped was, like, it sounds cliche, but the crowd, I think, actually helped a lot, because anytime you had any good round, any kill, the crowd just go crazy. Like, you would just feel the whole thing vibrating. And I think we fed off that a lot. And just like the way I said how we evolved as a team as it went on, like, if we would have played FaZe in the group stage, we would have got destroyed. I think we just literally destroyed. But I think over time we just learned how to play more together, talk more, all that stuff, as literally in a 3-week span. So by the time we got to the final, like, pinnacle of the tournament in the final, we were at our best. So no one was like down, like, oh, we gotta play FaZe, holy shit, like, we lost 5 times, then we're just like, we're insane right now, let's do our thing. You know, that's literally the mentality we had. We didn't think about the, like, last 5 games we played with them. We just think about how we had been playing before this, and then we knew that we were literally at our best ever.
Right, when you actually got to that last map, and the other detail obviously is like they actually were at championship point. In fact, they had 4 straight championship points to win the title.
Yeah, 15,
right,
11.
what I wanted to ask about there is like, if you can even remember, what is like the mentality like then? Because the funny thing is, it's kind of like you alluded to earlier when you said qualifying for the major was actually one of like the most nervous but important like rounds of your career. For me, there's 2 rounds in a game that if you're a pro, they have a different feeling that a fan wouldn't understand. It's different round. It's the one where you're on map points, you can win the round, and you start thinking like, fuck, I win if they do it. And then the other one obviously is elimination point, where it's like, shit, if we blow this, like, we lose the whole thing. Like, people, you see people really react differently. Sometimes even each time they can react differently. What's it like in a scenario like this, where basically, like, because as I say, it's one thing to be like an elimination point, but you also know I'm basically got 4 elimination points in a row. Like, I've got to kind of pull a miracle out here. Like, where do you actually get at in that scenario? Like, was there even any sense of like, shit, this might be over?
No one said anything about the scoreline. Believe it or not, everyone was just like completely just like, I think we were high on adrenaline or something, because everyone was just focused. No one said anything. We did what we were supposed to do. We did like the rounds we had planned or we talked about, and they just worked. Like, we didn't like say like, oh, like, we gotta be careful, like, can't let them close it out. No one mentioned that whatsoever. Like, even our coach didn't say like, what, don't worry about the scoreline. We just played, and I think we played the Counter-Strike we set out to play, and it ended up working 4 rounds in a row. And then we got to overtime. That's when it said, like, holy fuck, like, we just made the comeback. Like, this is the time. Now we can actually win this. You know, that's when actually we set things even into a further gear when we got to overtime, and that's when there were some crazy ass rounds in those overtimes. Obviously, everyone knows, but there was a couple moments when, like, I think it seemed like we're out of it. Like when Stewie lost the clutch for Kerrigan, for example, like he got like a 4K and he could have aced the clutch to close it out, and it would have seemed like from miles looking like it's over. Like they're mentally defeated. Yes. Like they're fucked. But like we just literally said, Stu, fuck that round. Like just forget about that round. We're gonna win this no matter what. And Stu like instantly got back into it because it looked like he was like this and took his headset off and went down and everything. But he was back into it next round, even if it looked like he wasn't.
Do you actually think, listen, I'll absolutely give credit to Cloud9. You guys played amazingly. And in these rounds, I can even remember all the iconic players. Stewie's round, obviously, like Tarek and Automatic had a bunch of crazy players. Skadoodle obviously was going off the whole game. But one thing I have to say is, from the outside, this is why I want to get the feeling of what it was like for a player in the server. From the outside, if I look on the FaZe side of this portion of like the championship points and the overtime, dude, they look like they got very tight. Because you have to remember, the story for them is, even though they're some of the most decorated players ever, 4 of those 5 players, they've been waiting their whole career to win a major. You know, they're all sort of probably thinking I'm supposed to win. You know, wow, I'm one more round to go. Like, do you actually think they did choke a bit?
Yeah, 100%. I think like they had fully expected at 15-11, like, we're gonna close this out. And then as the round went on and on, I'm sure they got, like I said, more tight and tight. Like, holy shit, it's getting close. Okay, it's overtime. Let's close on overtime. Okay, we're down 3-0 on overtime. What's happening? And like they're probably shook. Like you said, these players, they've been striving for this and they've been so close. Like, obviously we've been striving our whole career, but we haven't been close to it, right? Not even close at all. And these guys have been close numerous times. Like Guardian, 2 finals or whatever it was, or a couple finals in the major. Kerrigan been going for his whole career. Olaf's the veteran, was already won majors, but still, like, these other guys, like, they're like, just, they need this for like to cement them as legends in their careers, right? And I'm sure it got to them. I'm not sure what they would say themselves, but playing versus them, it definitely seemed like they crumbled a little bit under the pressure. And especially, they can say whatever they want, but I do think the crowd definitely affected it when they're like literally saying send them home. And as much as you can say you can't hear it, you can hear that shit 100%.
Dude, Nico definitely looked like he could hear the Nico tilted, because he did look like he was tilted from them doing it. Like, yeah, I know what you mean. That's the sort of thing where, like, listen, as Rush says there, it doesn't matter what they say. Even if in an interview they're like, oh, it wasn't choke, it was just a loss. You know, like, listen, if I had the lie detector with the truth serum, I think they would admit they did.